Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into the story of Anna, who thought she had everything figured out, until Jake, the IT guy, completely changed her life. Anna sat at her desk in the bustling office, her eyes glued to the screen of her laptop. She had a presentation to finish and just a few hours to get it all together. The clicking of keyboards and quiet murmurs of her coworkers around her seemed like a distant hum as she focused on her work. But then, her laptop screen flickered and froze. Her heart sank. Not now. Not today. She glanced around, searching for someone to help. Her eyes landed on Jake, the office IT guy. He was sitting at his usual spot, hunched over his computer, earbuds in, completely absorbed in his own work. Anna hesitated for a moment before sighing and walking over to his desk. She tried to hide the frustration in her voice as she spoke. "Hey, Jake, my laptop's acting up. Can you take a look at it?" Jake pulled his earbuds out and looked up at her. His expression was calm, almost too calm, and he gave her a small nod. "Sure, bring it over." Anna rolled her eyes as she turned around to grab her laptop. She was in a rush, and the last thing she wanted was to be interrupted by the IT guy. He was always so aloof. As she handed him her laptop, she couldn't help but think that he was just another tech guy, the kind who loved to show off how much they knew, but probably wouldn't be able to help her with the real issues. "Thanks," she said curtly as she sat back down at her desk. Jake didn't respond, his attention fully on her laptop now. She glanced at him once more, her mind already back on the presentation. Then, a moment later, she heard him speak up. "You know, your system has a serious security issue. You're running on an outdated version of the software." Anna just nodded, half listening. She couldn't care less about the details. All she needed was the laptop fixed so she could finish her work. Jake paused for a second, then continued. "I'll log in as the admin and fix it." Anna's brow furrowed at that. "The admin?" she asked, slightly confused. Jake didn't answer immediately. Instead, he typed quickly, and Anna saw the login screen flash on the laptop. Before she could say anything more, he typed a few commands and, just like that, the system was working again. But that's when she saw something that made her freeze. His username wasn't just any username. It said, admin_1, the highest level of access. Anna's heart skipped a beat. She stared at the screen in disbelief. Was this really the same Jake who always wore jeans and a hoodie? The same guy who seemed to be just another quiet IT guy in the office? He looked up at her, his expression unreadable, and gave a small shrug. "All fixed," he said, handing her the laptop back. Anna blinked, completely caught off guard. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She had thought she knew him, but this was a side of Jake she never could have imagined. Thanks," she managed to say, still in shock. Jake gave her a polite nod before turning back to his desk, his earbuds back in place. As Anna sat there, staring at the laptop in her hands, she couldn't help but feel a rush of embarrassment. She had dismissed him as just an ordinary office worker, when in fact, he had access to the entire system. And worse, she had rolled her eyes at him. She could feel the heat rising in her cheeks as she realized how wrong she had been about him. But at the same time, she couldn't shake the curiosity that had sparked inside her. Who exactly was Jake? What else was he hiding? And how had she missed all the signs? Anna sat frozen for a moment, still staring at her laptop. Jake, the IT guy, had just logged in with the highest level access to the system. Her mind raced, trying to process what had just happened. She had underestimated him. No, dismissed him as just another quiet office worker who knew how to fix a few computers. But now, she realized she had been completely wrong. She could still hear the faint clicking of his keyboard as he went back to his desk, his earbuds securely back in place, as if nothing had happened. Anna shook her head, trying to snap out of her daze. She glanced at her laptop again, the screen now displaying everything running smoothly. Everything was working, but that didn't change the fact that she had been so wrong about him. The IT guy, the one she thought was just a low-level worker, was clearly something much more important. What else did she not know about him? And how had she missed all the signs? She couldn't stop herself from wondering how long Jake had been keeping this secret and whether anyone else in the office knew. As her mind wandered, Anna's curiosity began to eat away at her. She needed to know more. She needed to understand who Jake really was. She took a deep breath and stood up, glancing at her colleagues who were absorbed in their own work, oblivious to the quiet drama unfolding in the corner of the room. There was no way she could just let this go. Not now. She had to confront him. "Jake," Anna called out as she walked over to his desk, her voice slightly shaky. Jake looked up at her, his expression as calm and unreadable as ever. He took out his earbuds and gave her a polite, but neutral, smile. "Hey, Anna, everything good with your laptop?" he asked. Anna hesitated for a moment. "Yeah, everything's fine. But I have to ask, how long have you been the admin?" she blurted out before she could stop herself. Jake raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by the question. For a brief second, Anna thought she had overstepped, but then he simply shrugged. "It's part of the job," he said, his tone still casual, but his eyes held a glimmer of something. Was it amusement? Anna tried to shake off the unease creeping up her spine. "You're not just the IT guy, are you?" she pressed, hoping to push him to reveal more. Jake didn't seem fazed. He leaned back in his chair, his posture relaxed. "I'm just doing my job," he said again. But this time, there was a hint of something deeper in his voice, something that made Anna feel like she was on the edge of discovering something she wasn't supposed to know. She couldn't let it go. "You're not like the others," Anna said, her voice softening. "I've seen you around here for months, and I always thought you were just, well, the IT guy. But I was wrong, wasn't I?" Jake didn't say anything for a long moment. He just stared at her, and Anna's heart pounded in her chest. The silence between them seemed to stretch on forever, but finally, he spoke. "You know, Anna, most people don't care to look deeper. They see what they want to see," he said slowly, almost as if he were speaking to himself. "But sometimes, it's the ones who seem the least important that have the most to offer." Anna swallowed hard. His words hit her harder than she expected. There was something about Jake's calm demeanor that unsettled her. She had been so focused on her own work, so wrapped up in her assumptions, that she hadn't even stopped to think about who Jake really was. And now, it seemed, she was starting to realize just how much she had missed. The more she thought about it, the more she began to see the pieces fall into place. Jake had always been reserved, quiet, almost invisible at times. But he was also always one step ahead, always quietly getting things done behind the scenes. He had never been flashy about his skills, never sought attention. And now, it seemed like that was part of his plan. To be unnoticed, to be underestimated. And Anna had fallen right into it. She felt a mix of admiration and embarrassment wash over her. She had underestimated him, but now, she couldn't help but be intrigued. What was Jake's true story? Who was he really? And why had he chosen to hide his true identity? Jake stood up and grabbed his jacket. "I've got a meeting," he said, breaking Anna's train of thought. "If you need anything else, just let me know." With that, he left her standing there, her mind racing. Anna sat back down at her desk, her heart still pounding. The office felt strangely quiet now, even though everyone was still working around her. It was as if the world had shifted just a little bit, and she had suddenly realized how much she didn't know about the people around her. Her thoughts were interrupted by a message popping up on her screen, a notification about an upcoming company gala. The name on the invitation made her freeze. Guest of honor, Jake Mitchell. Anna stared at the screen in disbelief. The name on the invitation was the same as the one on her laptop. Jake Mitchell. The same Jake who had just fixed her laptop and casually revealed his true identity as the system's highest level admin. Her heart skipped a beat. What was going on? Anna sat at her desk, staring at the invitation that had just popped up on her screen, her mind racing. Guest of honor, Jake Mitchell. She had never expected this. The IT guy who had fixed her laptop and revealed himself to be the system's highest level admin was now the guest of honor at the upcoming company gala. It didn't make sense. Jake had always been the quiet, unassuming guy, the one who blended into the background while everyone else focused on their work. He had never shown any sign of being someone important, let alone a guest of honor at a major event. She stared at the invitation for a few more moments, wondering if this was some sort of mistake. Maybe it was another Jake Mitchell, but the name, the details, everything pointed to him. She couldn't stop herself from feeling both surprised and curious. Why hadn't he told her? Why had he kept this part of himself hidden? The more she thought about it, the more she realized that this was the man she had casually brushed off, thinking of him as nothing more than an office technician. And now, she was left with more questions than answers. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Jake, sent just a few minutes ago. I noticed you saw the invitation. It's not what you think. Let's talk after the gala. I owe you an explanation. Anna's heart skipped a beat. Was this really happening? She had to admit, a part of her was desperate to know more. She needed to understand why he had chosen to hide his true identity from everyone, especially her. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that maybe this was her chance to learn something important about him, to figure out who Jake Mitchell really was. She quickly typed a reply, her fingers shaking slightly. Okay, I'll be at the gala. Let's talk then. She hit send, feeling both relieved and apprehensive at the same time. The next few days felt like a blur. The gala was quickly approaching, and Anna couldn't focus on anything else. All she could think about was Jake and the mystery surrounding him. She found herself constantly replaying their conversation in her mind. The way he had fixed her laptop without breaking a sweat. The way he had casually mentioned being the admin. How had she not noticed before? Why had she assumed so much about him without ever asking the right questions? She knew one thing for sure. She had to get answers. The night of the gala arrived, and Anna stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her dress. She was nervous, more nervous than she had ever been for any other event. It wasn't just the usual nerves about being at a fancy function. This time, it was about Jake. She wasn't sure what to expect when she saw him again. Would he be the same quiet, reserved guy? Or would he show her a side of himself that she had never imagined? As she entered the venue, the atmosphere hit her like a wave. The grand hall was filled with guests, all elegantly dressed, mingling and sipping champagne. The soft murmur of conversation filled the air, but Anna's focus was solely on the stage at the front of the room. The lights dimmed, and the host took the microphone. And now, please welcome our guest of honor for the evening, Mr. Jake Mitchell. The room erupted into applause, and Anna's heart skipped a beat. She had expected to see Jake walk up on stage, but she had not expected the sheer presence he carried. Dressed in a sleek black tuxedo, he looked nothing like the quiet guy from the office. He looked confident, powerful even, as he stepped onto the stage, acknowledging the applause with a small nod. Anna stood frozen for a moment, completely taken aback. She had no idea what to do with this new information. The man she had thought of as just the IT guy was now the center of attention, commanding the room with his mere presence. He wasn't just an ordinary office worker. He was someone important, someone with power and influence. The applause eventually died down, and Jake began to speak. His voice was calm, measured, but there was a strength to it that Anna had never noticed before. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's an honor to stand before you, Jake said, his eyes scanning the room. Anna couldn't help but watch him closely. She had never seen him like this before. He was charismatic, charming even, and it made her realize how little she had truly known about him. As Jake continued speaking, Anna's mind raced. Was this the same man who had fixed her laptop just a few days ago? The same man who had offered no explanation, no hint of his true identity? She couldn't wrap her mind around it. And then, as if on cue, their eyes met across the room. For a brief moment, time seemed to slow down. Jake's gaze held hers for just a second longer than necessary, a small, knowing smile playing on his lips. It was like he knew exactly what she was thinking, and that only made her more determined to find out the truth. The gala went on, but Anna couldn't shake the feeling that everything had just changed. She had gone from seeing Jake as the quiet IT guy to realizing that he was someone much more significant. And now, she had to face him. She had to know why he had kept this part of himself hidden, why he had chosen not to reveal the truth. But one thing was clear. This conversation would change everything. And for the first time in a long while, Anna felt a sense of anticipation she couldn't ignore. The evening wore on, and Anna's thoughts were still consumed by the sight of Jake standing on stage, commanding the room with a level of confidence she had never imagined him capable of. She tried to shake it off, to focus on the event, but her mind kept drifting back to him. He had become the center of attention in a way that was both surprising and unnerving. She had always believed she knew who he was, but now it seemed that everything she thought she knew had been turned upside down. As the night went on, Anna couldn't help but watch him from across the room, catching glimpses of Jake as he mingled with the other guests. His posture was straight, his demeanor calm and assured, and every now and then, he would smile at someone or exchange a few words, effortlessly drawing people into his orbit. It was like he was a different person altogether, and it made Anna feel like she had been blind to something she should have noticed long ago. Finally, the time came for her to approach him. The gala was winding down, and Anna knew that if she didn't speak to him now, she might never get the chance again. She took a deep breath and made her way across the room, her heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. As she walked toward him, Jake noticed her, his eyes locking onto hers with that same knowing look from earlier. For a moment, she hesitated, but then she saw the slight curve of his lips. He was waiting for her. She stopped in front of him, her breath catching in her throat. "Jake," she said softly, her voice betraying a hint of uncertainty. "I think we need to talk." Jake's smile remained, but his eyes softened, and he nodded. "I thought you'd say that," he replied, his voice calm and steady. "Let's step outside for a minute." Anna followed him through the crowd, and they found a quieter corner near the terrace. The city lights twinkled in the distance, casting a soft glow over the night. For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was as if the weight of everything that had happened between them hung in the air, both of them waiting for the right moment to address it. Finally, Anna couldn't hold it in any longer. "Jake, I have to know. Why didn't you tell me who you really are?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with frustration. "Why keep this hidden from me, from everyone?" Jake took a deep breath and looked out at the city, his expression thoughtful. "It's not something I wanted to hide from you, Anna," he said slowly. "But the truth is, people see what they want to see. They don't look deeper. And the way I've always operated here, at this company, it's been about being in the background. I prefer it that way. I never wanted to be the guy at the front of the room, the one everyone looks up to." Anna's confusion deepened. "But why? Why not let people know who you are? Why let them think you're just the IT guy?" Jake finally turned to face her, his gaze meeting hers directly. "Because, Anna," he said softly, "being in the background gives me the freedom to make things happen without anyone questioning my motives. It gives me the chance to focus on the work that actually matters." He paused for a moment, letting the words settle between them. "I didn't want to be someone people looked at as a power player or a CEO. I wanted to be seen as someone who could get things done, quietly and effectively." Anna processed his words, trying to make sense of them. "But you're still doing important work, Jake," she said. "You've been helping this company grow in ways that no one else can. Don't you deserve to be recognized for that?" Jake smiled faintly. "Recognition isn't what I'm after," he said quietly. "What matters to me is making sure everything runs smoothly, without anyone even knowing I'm pulling the strings. That's how I like it." Anna's mind raced. It was clear now that Jake wasn't the person she had thought he was. But what she didn't understand was why he had chosen to reveal himself to her in such an indirect way. "Why me, Jake?" she asked, her voice soft. "Why did you show me the truth? Why didn't you just keep it hidden?" Jake looked at her for a long moment, and then he sighed. "Because, Anna," he said, his tone serious now, "you're different. You saw something in me that no one else did. You didn't just see an IT guy. You saw the person behind the job, the person who has been working to make things better, even if it was all behind the scenes. And I've been watching you, too. You're smarter, more capable, and more determined than I ever gave you credit for." His words hung in the air between them, and Anna felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she realized just how much she had underestimated him, and how much she had yet to learn. "So what now?" Anna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake smiled, the same small smile that had initially thrown her off. "Now, we take it one step at a time," he said. "You don't have to see me as the guy who fixed your laptop or the CEO of the company. Just see me as Jake, the guy who's trying to make a difference, the guy who's trying to build something better. And maybe, just maybe, we can help each other along the way." Anna felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had come here looking for answers, but what she had found was something deeper. Maybe she hadn't just been wrong about Jake. Maybe she had also been wrong about herself. She smiled, meeting his gaze. "I think we can do that," she said. And for the first time, she felt like the weight of the evening had lifted, and she was ready to move forward, together. The days after the gala were a whirlwind for Anna. Everything had shifted in a way she couldn't quite comprehend. Jake, the man she had once viewed as just the office IT guy, was now someone who had opened her eyes to a different side of life. A a side she never expected to see. Their conversation on the terrace had left her with more questions than answers, but at the same time, it had also left her with a strange sense of peace. It felt like everything she had thought she knew about the world and about herself was slowly falling apart. She was learning to see things from a new perspective, one that included Jake and maybe even a little bit of herself. It was a quiet Sunday when Anna decided to take a walk through the city park, needing some time to process everything that had happened. She had spent the past few days diving into her work, trying to distract herself from the constant thoughts of Jake and the strange pull she felt towards him. But the truth was, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. She needed clarity. As she strolled through the park, her mind wandered back to the night of the gala. The way Jake had looked in that tuxedo, standing tall and confident on the stage, had left an impression on her that she couldn't erase. She had never seen him like that before. He was powerful, charismatic, everything she had never imagined. And yet, despite all of that, he had remained humble, quiet, almost reserved, which only made her more curious. What drove him to stay in the background for so long? Why had he hidden his true identity, not just from her, but from everyone? Anna found herself sitting on a bench, lost in thought, when her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out to see a message from Jake. "Are you free to meet today?" it read. Her heart skipped a beat. It had been days since they had last spoken, and while she had been thinking about him constantly, she hadn't expected to hear from him so soon. She quickly typed a response. "Sure, where?" A few moments later, he replied with a location, a small coffee shop on the edge of the city. Anna felt a nervous excitement build inside her as she made her way to the cafe. The thought of seeing Jake again made her stomach flutter. She had no idea what to expect, but she knew one thing. Their conversation needed to continue. It felt like there were still so many things left unsaid between them, things she needed to understand. When she arrived at the coffee shop, she spotted Jake sitting by the window, a cup of coffee in front of him. His casual, yet confident, demeanor was just as she remembered, but there was a softness in his eyes now, something she hadn't seen before. As she walked toward him, he looked up, and for a brief moment, their eyes locked. He gave her a small smile, one that felt genuine and warm. "Hey, Anna," he said, his voice calm as always. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course," she replied, sitting down across from him. There was a slight pause, and then she couldn't help herself. "Jake, I have to know. Why the secrecy? Why did you keep all of this from me?" Jake sighed, setting his coffee down. "It's not about secrecy, Anna. It's about choice," he said softly. "I've spent my life trying to make a difference in my own way, without drawing attention to myself. I didn't want people to look at me and see the title or the wealth. I wanted them to see the work. I wanted to be judged by what I did, not who I was." Anna listened carefully, her thoughts swirling. It was clear now that Jake's motivations weren't driven by ego or a desire for fame. He truly valued his work and wanted to make an impact without the distractions of people treating him differently because of his position. "But you didn't have to hide who you are from me," Anna said, her voice quieter now. "You could have told me. I would have understood." Jake looked down at his coffee for a moment, as if considering her words. "I know," he said finally, "but it wasn't just about hiding who I am. It's about protecting myself. I've seen how people react when they find out who I really am. They start treating me differently, and it changes everything. I didn't want that to happen with you." Anna's heart softened at his words. It wasn't just about the job or the title. It was about keeping his life simple and authentic, without the weight of other people's expectations. She realized that she had been so focused on understanding who Jake was in terms of his title that she had never stopped to think about why he kept it hidden in the first place. "I get it now," Anna said, her voice gentle. "But I think I was wrong, too. I assumed things about you, about your life. I thought you were just the guy in the background, the one who didn't matter." Jake shook his head. "You never really saw me that way, Anna. You just didn't know the full story." A silence fell between them, but this time, it was comfortable. Anna felt like they were both on the same page now, no longer strangers, no longer hiding parts of themselves from one another. It was a strange feeling, one that made her feel more connected to him than ever before. Finally, Jake spoke again, his voice soft. "Anna, I know this is a lot to process, but I want you to know something. I didn't just invite you here to explain myself. I want to help you. I see the potential in you, in what you can do. I've watched you work, and I know you can accomplish great things. If you're willing, I want to work with you. Not as the guy who fixed your laptop, but as someone who believes in you. Anna stared at him, her heart racing. For the first time in a long time, she felt like someone believed in her, truly believed in her. And that belief was something she wasn't ready to let go of. I don't know what to say, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Say yes, Jake said with a smile, his eyes filled with sincerity. And just like that, Anna knew that this was the beginning of something new, something that would change everything. She smiled back, a sense of excitement and anticipation filling her chest. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll work with you. The following weeks were a blur for Anna. What had started as a simple interaction with Jake, the IT guy, had turned into something far more complicated. She was now working alongside him, not just as a colleague, but as a partner in something bigger. The project they were diving into wasn't just about improving the company's systems. It was about innovation, making real changes, and Anna had never felt more alive with purpose. Jake had been true to his word. He had shown her the ropes, introduced her to key figures in the company, and gave her responsibilities she never thought she would be trusted with. It was exhilarating, but at the same time, it made Anna nervous. She was pushing herself in ways she never had before, and the pressure to prove herself was building. Jake, however, was always there to guide her, even in subtle ways. He didn't micromanage her. Instead, he encouraged her to take risks, to step outside her comfort zone. You're capable of more than you think, Anna, he would say with that calm, assuring smile of his. It felt strange, having someone believe in her so deeply, but it also felt incredibly motivating. There were moments when she would look at Jake and wonder if he saw something in her that she couldn't even see herself. Then, one afternoon, as they were finishing up a late meeting in his office, he dropped a bombshell. I have an offer for you, Jake said, looking up from the papers in front of him. Anna paused, her hand mid-reach for her coffee. What do you mean, an offer? She asked, confused. Jake set the papers aside and gave her a serious look. I'm not going to be here forever, Anna. I've been offered a position elsewhere, a bigger role, with a lot more responsibility. Anna's heart skipped a beat. Jake, the man who had been the quiet force behind everything, was leaving? The thought of not having him around was unsettling. Are you serious? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Why now? Jake smiled faintly. Because I know you're ready. I've seen you grow, and I believe it's time for you to take the lead. Anna's mind raced. She hadn't expected this. The thought of Jake leaving felt like a door closing, but also like an opportunity. But what about all the work we've been doing together? Anna asked, her voice filled with concern. Jake leaned back in his chair, his eyes meeting hers with a calm certainty. The work we've started will continue, Anna. But it's your time now. I can't hold your hand forever. You've learned what you need, and now it's time for you to step up. His words hung in the air, and Anna felt a rush of emotions. She had spent so much time doubting herself, but now here was Jake, telling her that it was her turn to lead. The weight of the responsibility felt heavy, but at the same time, it also felt empowering. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I don't know if I'm ready, she admitted. I've only just started to believe in myself. Jake's expression softened. I know it's a lot to take in, but you've got this. Trust me, you've got everything you need. For a moment, Anna sat in silence, her mind spinning with everything that had happened since she first met Jake. She had come so far from the woman who had rolled her eyes at the IT guy, thinking she knew it all. Now, she was staring at the man who had not only changed her perspective on life, but had also pushed her to become someone better. She thought about the company, the people, the work they had accomplished, and she realized he was right. She was ready. Okay, she said finally, her voice steady. I'll take the offer. I'll step up. Jake smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached his eyes. I knew you would. Over the next few weeks, the transition began. Jake started to phase out of his role, handing over responsibilities to Anna, guiding her through the final steps. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of doubt, but with every challenge, Anna found herself growing more confident. She realized that the quiet, reserved man she had once dismissed was the same person who had given her the tools to succeed. It was Jake who had taught her that true leadership didn't come from the title. It came from empowering others and helping them grow. The day Jake officially left, Anna stood in his office, looking around at the space that had once felt so foreign to her. She thought about everything that had led her here, about all the moments when she had felt lost or unsure, and how, somehow, Jake had always been there, even when she didn't realize it. Now it was her turn. As she sat down at his desk, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. She was ready for this. She was ready to lead. The future was uncertain, but Anna knew one thing for sure. She wasn't alone. Jake had believed in her, and now, it was time for her to believe in herself. It had been a month since Anna officially took over the leadership role. The transition was harder than she had imagined, but with each passing day, she found herself growing into the position. The first few weeks had been filled with challenges, moments of self-doubt, and the constant pressure of managing the expectations of those around her. But as time went on, Anna began to realize something. She was capable of more than she had ever given herself credit for. Her first big project as the new leader of the company was a critical one. The company was preparing to launch a new product, and the entire team looked to Anna for guidance. It was a huge responsibility, but Anna had learned from the best. Jake had given her the tools she needed to succeed. She just had to trust herself. As the days went by, Anna found herself working late into the night, reviewing plans, meeting with her team, and making crucial decisions. There were moments when she felt overwhelmed, but there were also moments when she felt a rush of excitement. She was making a real impact, and it was a feeling she hadn't experienced before. One evening, as she was leaving the office, she ran into Jake. He had stopped by to check on the progress of the launch, and they ended up talking for a while. "How's it going, Anna?" he asked with his usual calm smile. "I'm surviving," Anna said with a laugh, though she felt a bit of pride in her words. "It's a lot, but I think we're on track." Jake raised an eyebrow. "I think you're doing more than just surviving. You're doing great." Anna smiled, grateful for his words. "I don't know if I could have done it without your help. You taught me so much." Jake nodded, his expression serious now. "You've always had it in you, Anna. I just gave you the push you needed. You're the one who's been doing the work." Anna couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude for Jake. He had pushed her to be better, to take risks, and to trust in her own abilities. She had come so far, and it was because of the foundation he had helped her build. The following weeks flew by in a whirlwind of meetings, deadlines, and progress. Anna found herself becoming more and more confident in her decisions, and the product launch was quickly shaping up to be a success. The team was rallying behind her, and she was seeing the results of her hard work. Finally, the day of the product launch arrived. Anna stood in the conference room, looking at the final presentation before they went live. Her heart was pounding in her chest, but she felt a sense of calm wash over her. She had done everything she could, and now, it was time to see the fruits of her labor. As the presentation started, Anna watched the screen, feeling a sense of pride in the work they had done. The team had come together, and they were about to launch something that would change the company's future. But as the presentation came to an end, Anna couldn't help but glance over at Jake, who was standing in the back of the room, watching her with a proud smile. For the first time since she took over, she didn't feel like she was doing this alone. Jake had always believed in her, and now, as she took the final steps into her new role, she realized that she was ready. The product launch was a success. The team celebrated, and Anna felt a sense of accomplishment that she had never experienced before. But as she stood there, surrounded by her colleagues, she realized that this wasn't just about the success of the product, it was about the journey. It was about learning, growing, and becoming someone she had always been capable of being. And as she looked around the room, she knew that this was just the beginning. She had the confidence now, the belief in herself, and the support of the people who had helped her along the way. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Anna felt ready to face whatever came next. As she stepped outside the conference room, she ran into Jake once again. He gave her a warm smile, and for a moment, neither of them said anything. There was nothing more to say. They both knew what this moment meant. Anna was no longer just the girl who had rolled her eyes at the IT guy. She was a leader, ready to take on the world. And Jake, the man who had been there every step of the way, was proud of her. "You did it," Jake said softly. Anna smiled, feeling the weight of everything they had been through together. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. Jake nodded, his smile genuine. "I knew you could." And with that, Anna took a deep breath, ready for whatever the future held, knowing that she was finally in control of her own destiny. Months passed since Anna officially took charge, and every day she found herself more immersed in the role she had once doubted she could handle. The company was thriving, the product launch had been a success, and Anna was finally starting to believe in herself as a leader. But despite all of the progress she had made, there was still a lingering question in her mind. What came next? She had worked hard to earn the respect of her colleagues, but she couldn't help but wonder if she was truly ready for the challenges ahead. Jake, on the other hand, had been out of the picture more often lately, his new role at another company taking him to different cities, but his presence still lingered. He had been the one to push her when she needed it, and Anna couldn't help but feel that something was missing without his quiet guidance. One evening, as she sat alone in her office, reviewing some quarterly reports, Anna's phone buzzed with a text. It was from Jake. "Hey, are you free for dinner tonight?" it read. Anna smiled, the familiar sense of calm returning with just his name. "Sure," she replied. "Where?" Jake suggested a small restaurant near the city center, one they had visited together a few times before, back when Anna was still figuring things out. As she made her way to the restaurant, Anna's mind wandered back to the day when she had taken over Jake's position. She remembered the doubts, the fear, and the sense of inadequacy that had weighed her down. But now, as she stepped into the restaurant and saw Jake waiting at a table for two, a sense of calm washed over her. She had come so far. "Hey," she said as she approached the table, her voice light and cheerful. Jake looked up, his face breaking into a warm smile. "I've been hearing good things about you, Anna," he said, standing up to greet her. "The team's really coming together, huh?" Anna chuckled, sitting down across from him. "I can't believe it's been this long since we talked like this. It's been a crazy few months." "You've handled it well," Jake said, his tone sincere. "I've seen the changes in you, Anna. You're more confident, more capable. It's been impressive to watch." Anna felt a flush of warmth in her chest. She had always respected Jake, but hearing him say those words meant more than she had expected. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said, her voice soft but genuine. Jake smiled, taking a sip of his wine before responding. "I just gave you the nudge you needed, Anna. You did the rest. I always knew you had it in you." They sat there for a while, enjoying the comfort of each other's company. The conversation drifted between work, life, and everything in between, but as the night wore on, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between them. It was subtle, but it was there. The dynamic that had once been so clear, with Jake as the mentor and Anna as the mentee, had shifted. Now, they were equals, both with their own strengths, both capable of standing on their own. After dinner, as they walked out of the restaurant together, Anna felt a sense of closure, a sense of finality. She had always wondered what it would be like when Jake was no longer a part of her day-to-day life, but now she realized that he had given her something far more valuable than just guidance. He had given her the tools to believe in herself, to trust her own instincts. "Thanks for everything, Jake," Anna said as they reached the curb. "You've really made a difference in my life." Jake looked at her, his eyes reflecting the pride he felt. "I didn't make the difference, Anna. You did. You've always had it in you." As they said their goodbyes and Anna walked away, she realized that the person she had become was not just a reflection of Jake's mentorship. It was the result of her own hard work, her own perseverance, and her own belief in what she could achieve. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Anna felt ready to take it on, knowing she had the strength to navigate whatever came next. And with that, she knew that Jake's role in her life had served its purpose. He had given her the push she needed, and now it was her time to lead, to make her own mark, and to continue growing into the person she was always meant to be. Months had passed, and Anna had settled into her new role with a sense of ease she had never imagined possible. The company had flourished under her leadership, and she had earned the respect of her team and colleagues. But as time passed, a new sense of fulfillment began to take root within her, not from the recognition or the success, but from the internal growth she had experienced. She had transformed from the woman who doubted herself to someone who could make tough decisions, navigate challenges, and inspire those around her. Jake had remained a distant presence in her life, and though they kept in touch every now and then, their relationship had evolved into something less about mentorship and more about mutual respect. One afternoon, as Anna sat at her desk, reviewing plans for a new project, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Jake. "I'm in town this week. Would love to catch up if you're free." Anna smiled as she read the message. She hadn't heard from him in a while, and she was eager to see him again. After all, Jake had been a pivotal part of her journey. She quickly typed back, "I'd love to. Let's meet for dinner." A few hours later, they met at the same restaurant they had visited months ago, the one where they had first discussed her taking on the leadership role. It felt fitting to return there. As Anna walked in, she spotted Jake sitting at a table by the window. He was dressed casually, but there was a calm authority in the way he carried himself. He looked up as she entered and smiled warmly, standing to greet her. "It's good to see you again, Anna," he said, his voice filled with genuine warmth. "You look great." Anna smiled back. "It's been a while. I've missed our talks." They sat down, and after the initial pleasantries, they dove right into the conversation. "So, how's everything going?" Jake asked. Anna leaned back in her chair, reflecting for a moment. "It's going really well. I've been busy, but it feels good to be in control. The team is amazing, and we've made so much progress. I think we're finally on the right track." Jake nodded, clearly pleased. "I knew you had it in you. You've come a long way, Anna." Anna felt a rush of gratitude wash over her. "I couldn't have done it without you, Jake. You taught me so much about leadership, and you helped me believe in myself when I didn't think I could." Jake smiled, looking at her with that familiar look of understanding. "You always had it in you. I just gave you the push you needed." The words hit Anna in a way she hadn't expected. She realized that Jake had never seen her as anything less than capable. He had always believed in her potential, even when she couldn't see it herself. It was that belief that had helped her grow. "You know," Anna began, "I've been thinking a lot about our conversations back when I first took over. I used to think that I wasn't ready, that I wasn't cut out for this role. But now, I realize I was wrong. I was ready all along. I just had to trust myself." Jake's expression softened. "And now you're leading your own way. You've taken everything I taught you and made it your own. That's what great leaders do." Anna paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. "I think I've learned more from you than I realized. Not just about leadership, but about life. You've shown me that it's okay to take risks, to trust others, and most importantly, to trust myself." The conversation turned toward more personal matters, and Anna realized that this dinner wasn't just about business. It was a celebration of everything she had achieved and everything she had become. As the evening wore on, they shared stories, laughed, and enjoyed each other's company like they always had. But there was something different now. Anna was no longer the woman who had relied on Jake for guidance. She was someone who had grown into her own person, someone who had become a leader in her own right. The evening ended with a warm hug, and Anna couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude toward Jake for all he had done for her. As she walked home that night, Anna reflected on everything she had accomplished. She had come so far from the uncertain woman who had rolled her eyes at the IT guy in the office. Now, she was a confident, capable leader, and she was ready to face whatever the future held. The journey wasn't over, but Anna knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. She had found her voice, and she was finally leading the way. The future was bright, and Anna was ready to embrace it, knowing that she had the strength, the wisdom, and the heart to navigate whatever came next. And as she thought about Jake, she knew that he had played a crucial role in helping her get there. It was time for her to continue on her path, but she would always carry with her the lessons he had taught her. This was just the beginning, and she was ready for whatever came next.